For the midterm, we were tasked with identifying 3 different theorists that we've learned about in class so far. So the first theorist that I wanted to talk about was James Monaco from week 1. And I wanted to talk about his theory that politics can always be found in media. And also like how he highlights the consumption of media is more significant than the production of media. And so the first example that I thought of when thinking about this theory was a popular meme found on social media right now referring to the rise of conservatism. And so basically, people will comment on posts about like current events, like something that's going on, something that's happening or is trendy right now. And people will comment along the lines of like, this is your sign that conservatism is on the rise, in a humorous way. But a lot of people have begun to like talk about it more deeply and, said why they feel like conservatism is on the rise. And it is decided that it is due to like passively consuming conservative ideals through media, through, especially advertising. I feel like we have seen a lot of more conservative leaning advertisements as of recently. We've also seen like the rise of conservative fashion. And I feel like that one directly relates to TikTok videos, TikTok influencers, and TikTok trends because, recently I have been seeing a lot of TikTokers dressed in more modest clothing, more conservative clothing, with the gingham patterns that is associated with conservatism, the milk-maiden dresses associated with conservatism. And like furthermore, we've been seeing a lot of like trad wife influencers, which, refers to traditional wives or conservative wives. And, basically they'll just show like day in the life of a trad wife, and they'll be doing, housewife chores, they'll be baking from scratch or taking care of the children or things like that. And like all of these different types of media, we're consuming them, kind of unassuming, just for fun, just to see like what it's like to be, in the day of their life, or, just for entertainment. But ultimately, like it does show that we're passively consuming conservative ideals, and it shows that politics can be found in any type of media that you consume, like even social media. So yeah. The next theorists that I want to talk about are Lazarsfeld and Merton. I was going to say mentor. Merton. So basically, like, these two theorize that the mass production of media and the different genres and forms of media that have been introduced into the media industry have ultimately overwhelmed the public and caused fatigue on people. They explain that, like, majority of media now is just conformist media, which basically relates to how media has always, pushed the same narratives and societal standards, onto the public. The content of media has not really changed as much. And so people are getting bored of it. They're getting tired of viewing the same media. And ultimately, like, people using mass persuasion for power or for, like, public support is even further, like, diluting the entertainment aspect of media and social media. And I feel like, as a minority in America today, I feel like I can definitely relate to this theory and definitely attest to the fact that, like, a lot of people have been experiencing news fatigue and, like, social justice fatigue. I definitely don't think we see, as many social justice movements as we have in the past. And I don't think it's because people don't care anymore. I think people are just genuinely tired of, talking about the same things, viewing the same exact narratives on social media and getting into, maybe feuds or arguments with the same exact people on social media. It's just, draining when you constantly see the same exact narrative being pushed to you in multiple different ways, especially when you're on, when you get the short end of the stick and these, views are perpetuating stereotypes about you or your friend or, any minority at all. It basically just highlights how the reason why people are getting fatigued by the news, the reason why people are being passive viewers and not being as active in media is because people are getting tired of the same exact media being presented to them. Like an example that I thought of, honestly, was like the social media platform X. I feel like it has become, pretty hostile on that app just because of all of the political propaganda that is posted on the app. For instance, like your friend on X they're reposting something political. So while you're on there, trying to scroll and laugh, you're running into, political posts that you probably weren't in search for, but you are still going to consume because, someone else consumed it. So yeah, I think like many Americans honestly can relate to like refraining from seeking out the news because, it can be a little depressing and a little dark and a little like unmotivating. So yeah, to build off of this, the third theorist that I wanted to talk about is Theodore W. Adorno. And first I want to say he coined the term culture industry in place of mass culture. And that basically highlighted, the standardization and the business-like formula of media production. Rather than just being like an art form for entertainment, it has definitely been, operating like a business. And, it seems like he highlights the eternal sameness in media, similarly to the prior theorists. But he really touches on how, like, as consumers, we are not victims. We are active participants in the media that we're consuming, whether we agree with ideals that we're consuming or not. And I definitely think like I can relate to that as well. Being a young woman, I can admit that like I consume media having to do with physical attractiveness and body image. Even though I don't agree with the stereotypes that it perpetuates onto women, I don't agree with there being a body image standard or anything like that. I do consume media of women putting on makeup and women, going to the gym and getting fit, and I consume it with the idea of like being motivational and, giving me examples of how I can be more confident in myself. But ultimately, regardless of the intentions of me consuming it, it still, contributes and benefits to these narratives being pushed that are harmful to women and other groups.